ESPN just made a prediction about the San Francisco 49ers that caught everyone off guard, and I need to tell you exactly what they said. The analysts at SportsCenter, First Take, Get Up, and NFL Live have been debating what Kyle Shanahan should do next, and one name keeps coming up that I don't think a lot of fans are expecting. Their reasoning is actually pretty compelling, and it could completely change the trajectory of this franchise. Let me start from the beginning because ESPN laid out their entire case, and it's worth hearing the full argument. The segment began with the analysts acknowledging that this has become a yearly ritual for the 49ers and for Kyle Shanahan, looking for a new defensive coordinator. It goes from Robert Saleh to DeMeco Ryans to Steve Wilks to Nick Sorensen to Robert Saleh again. And now, where do they turn next? The carousel never seems to stop spinning. Hey, what's up everyone? Before we jump in, let me ask you something that takes 1 second. That like button? Hitting it right now helps this channel more than you know. It's how we reach thousands more fans with this content. Just smash that like button real quick. It's the biggest way you can support what we're building here. Every like matters, so hit it now. ESPN pointed out something interesting about how this situation developed. They said the 49ers had long expected that this would not be a long arrangement with Robert Saleh. There was some outside hope that maybe he could stay for 2 years, but they knew his ambition was to secure another head coaching opportunity. When the Tennessee Titans job came along, everyone in the building knew there was a good chance they were going to lose Saleh. So the two sides parting ways isn't a surprise. They planned for this. The question the ESPN analysts asked was, why did Shanahan hire Saleh for just 1 year if he knew that's probably all he would get? And the answer reveals a lot about how the 49ers think. ESPN explained that the 49ers knew they were going to have a very young defense this year. They knew they were going to have to integrate a whole bunch of young guys into the system. Their top 5 draft picks were all defensive players: Mike Williams, Alfred Collins, Nick Martin, Upton Stout, C.J. West, plus Maris Siegel later. All rookies who needed development. Robert Saleh is known as a very good teacher, someone who has patience and relates well to young players. From that standpoint, the 49ers got exactly what they wanted by having Saleh for 1 year. He helped develop those rookies. He taught them the fundamentals. He got them ready to contribute at the NFL level. Now, the next coordinator inherits a group of young players who have already been coached up by one of the best in the business. But here's where ESPN's analysis got really interesting. They said that when the 49ers hired Saleh last year, they also brought in Gus Bradley. And Bradley was always meant to be the safety net, the contingency plan if Saleh left after 1 year, which is exactly what happened. Gus Bradley is very well schooled in that Seattle-style defense, the 3-deep zone, the way they run the coverages, all the things Kyle Shanahan has felt were difficult to go against as an offensive coach. ESPN then laid out what they called the leader in the clubhouse for the defensive coordinator job, and this is where the prediction came in. They said if nothing better comes along externally, Gus Bradley is probably the guy. He's already in the building. He knows the system. The players know him. And he has a strong track record, even if it was a while ago. But the ESPN analysts quickly pivoted to the external candidate. And this is where the real debate started. Raheem Morris is the name that got the most attention. He just got fired by the Atlanta Falcons. He's available. And according to ESPN, Kyle Shanahan has a long history with Morris and tremendous respect for him. The analysts played clips of Shanahan talking about Morris over the years, and what he said was pretty remarkable. Shanahan called him one of the best coaches he's ever worked with. He talked about trying to get his dad to hire Morris as a defensive coordinator years ago. He mentioned how impressive it was that Morris, a career defensive coach, could come be a receiver coach and do an unbelievable job. Shanahan said he's tried to bring Morris to San Francisco every single year. That's a strong statement. ESPN's take is that the personal relationship between Shanahan and Morris makes this a very realistic scenario. They're friends. They trust each other. Morris understands offensive football, which makes him better at coordinating against it. He's been a head coach twice, so he doesn't have those ambitions anymore. He just wants to win. And the Falcons' defense under Jeff Ulbrich who Morris hired before he was fired, actually improved significantly this past year. Morris knows how to build a good defensive staff. But here's the twist in ESPN's coverage. They said there's another candidate who might make even more sense from a scheme standpoint, Jim Schwarz. And the way they explained it was fascinating. Schwarz has been the Cleveland Browns defensive coordinator since 2023, and his defenses have been dominant. First in total yards per game, first in first downs given up, first in third down conversion rate. Those are incredible numbers across the board. And Myles Garrett just set the single-season sack record playing in Schwartz's system. The man knows how to get the most out of elite pass rushers. But the real connection ESPN made was about the wide nine defense. They explained that Jim Schwartz's wide nine scheme is what originally influenced Kyle Shanahan when he became a head coach. Shanahan has talked about this publicly. When he was a young coordinator in Houston going up against Schwartz's defense in Tennessee, that's when he fell in love with the wide nine. Kyle Vanden Bosch, Albert Hainsworth, Jevon Kearse running that front. That's why Shanahan always wanted wide nines. That's why they brought in Chris Kokorek. The ESPN analysts pointed out that if you hire Schwartz, you keep Kokorek as the defensive line coach. The continuity is already there. The transition would be seamless because it's essentially the same defense they've been running. Schwartz is still interviewing for the Browns' head coaching job, but if he doesn't get it and the new coach doesn't retain him, he could be available. And given the scheme fit, the 49ers should absolutely be interested. ESPN also discussed Brian Flores as a candidate, but they were more measured in their assessment than some other outlets. Yes, Flores has been an incredible defensive coordinator in Minnesota. Yes, his defenses have consistently ranked near the top of the league, but Flores still has head coaching ambition. He's interviewing for the Steelers' job. He interviewed with the Ravens. If he takes a coordinator position, it might just be a pit stop until the next head coaching opportunity comes along. And the 49ers have been burned before by coordinators who leave after 1 or 2 years. The analysts made an interesting point about what Shanahan really needs. They said he might benefit most from finding a coach who's already been a head coach and doesn't want to do it again. Someone like Steve Spagnuolo has been for the Kansas City Chiefs. Spagnuolo had his failed head coaching run, and now he's content being a coordinator. He's been with Kansas City for years. He's won multiple Super Bowls. He's not going anywhere. Both Raheem Morris and Jim Schwarz fit that profile according to ESPN. Morris has been a head coach twice, once a long time ago with the Buccaneers and recently with the Falcons. Neither stint went great. He might be ready to settle into a coordinator role for the long haul. Schwartz was a head coach with the Jaguars, made it to the AFC Championship game once, but otherwise didn't have much success. He might also be content being a coordinator and winning championships that way. ESPN spent some time discussing the internal promotion options as well. KJ Wright is someone they believe is destined for great things in this league. Former longtime linebacker with Seattle, who played under Robert Saleh. Smart. Knows the coverages, knows how the linebacker position fits into everything. But the analysts agreed it might be too much to ask him to go from assistant linebackers coach to defensive coordinator with no play-calling experience. They compared it to the DeMeco Ryans situation, but noted the key difference. When Ryans was promoted, the defense was veteran-heavy. There was more margin for error. This defense now is much younger because of the youth movement. Having a first-time coordinator learning alongside a bunch of young players might be too risky when you're trying to compete for a Super Bowl. Daniel Bullocks is another internal name ESPN mentioned. He's the defensive backs coach who was upgraded from safeties coach. He interviewed for the defensive coordinator position last year and didn't get it, but the 49ers obviously like him. His cornerbacks played well this year. Upton Stout was excellent as a rookie under his coaching. Diamador Lenoir remained solid. Bullocks was also given a game planning title as passing game specialist, which means he was already being given coordinator-like duties. The ESPN analysts called him a dark horse candidate who will definitely get an interview. The ESPN coverage then shifted to the practical considerations the next coordinator will face. They talked about how the 49ers need to maintain run defense at the levels they saw before Fred Warner got hurt. Through the first 5 weeks, They were 8th against the run. That's a team that can compete for a championship. They need to get back to that level when everyone is healthy next year. The analyst said, ideally, you would love to get back to the top 2 run defense they had under DeMeco Ryan. But at minimum, they cannot have what happened in 2023 and 2024 when they sunk to 26th and 29th against the run respectively. Salah got them back to a respectable level when his players were healthy. The next coordinator needs to maintain that. ESPN also discussed the personnel building that needs to happen along with the coaching hire. They need Bosa back healthy. They need Mike Williams back healthy. They might need to add a mid-tier veteran at defensive tackle. They need to figure out the second linebacker spot next to Warner. And they absolutely need to address the safety position either through the draft or free agency. One thing the ESPN analysts emphasized was that the 49ers are not in as bad a position as some fans think. Yes, they've had coordinator turnover. Yes, injuries derailed this season, but the core pieces are still there. Warner is still elite when healthy. Bosa is still a game wrecker when healthy. The young players from this draft class showed real promise. And they still have Kyle Shanahan calling plays on offense with an elite quarterback in Brock Purdy. The prediction ESPN ultimately made is that the 49ers will likely look external first before committing to an internal promotion. Raheem Morris makes the most sense if they want the friendship factor and a coach who won't leave for a head job. Jim Schwarz makes the most sense if they want perfect scheme continuity and a proven track record with elite defenses. Brian Flores makes the most sense if they want the best pure coordinator available regardless of flight risk. But here's the bold call ESPN made at the end of their segment. They said they believe Kyle Shanahan will ultimately hire Raheem Morris. The personal relationship is too strong. The timing is perfect with Morris just becoming available. Morris won't be looking for head coaching jobs anymore after 2 failed stints. And he brings credibility and experience that would command respect from the players immediately. The ESPN analysts acknowledged this might not be the sexiest hire. Morris's defenses in Atlanta weren't spectacular. His Rams defense won a Super Bowl, but that was with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. But they believe the fit with Shanahan is more important than anything else. These two know each other, they trust each other, and that relationship could provide the stability the 49ers have been lacking at the coordinator position. So what do you think about ESPN's prediction? Do you agree that Raheem Morris is the most likely hire? Or do you think Jim Schwartz's scheme fit makes him the better choice? Maybe you want them to roll with Gus Bradley and keep everything in-house. Let me know in the comments because I'm genuinely curious what 49ers fans think about these options. Drop a like if you found this breakdown helpful and want me to keep covering the 49ers coaching search. There's going to be a lot of movement in the coming weeks, and I want to make sure you're informed about everything that's happening. Until next time, take care of yourselves.